Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Yasmin A. Flores, and welcome back to another episode of The Arts at EPCC. With me today is one of our music majors who has this phenomenal voice that I can't get out of my head. The first time I heard her singing, I was like, oh my goodness, who is this? I need to know. And she is here today, Ms. Kodaya Butler. Hello, Kodaya. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I am so happy to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, because I have you in class. You're Little Miss Bubbly. and so I said, you know what? She would be a great guest to have on the show because this is a simple set, as you see. We have George the Plant with us here. We have some simple curtains with some beautiful magenta lights, and you have to be very entertaining to draw in the crowds, right? And so I have to say, first of all, I want to kind of ask you how you got into singing. So how long have you been singing?
I have actually been singing since elementary.
Mm-hmm.
It started off here in Chester E. Jordan. They didn't have a choir, so they were like, if you want to go sing, you have to go to John Drugan and join their choir. So it was like an after-school thing, and since then, I've just been singing away.
Wow. So how old were you?
I was like maybe 10, 11.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you're 10 or 11 years old and you started singing. And were you good at it right away? Because you sound like just a natural at it.
You're too kind.
Oh.
I was not the best.
Okay.
The first song I ever sung was a Star Spangled Banner.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know it. I did not, but I went up there and I did my thing.
Yes.
And then they were like, this is good. Let's work on this.
Yes.
And I started working hard to be good.
Right. And so you mentioned the Star Spangled Banner, and my favorite story to tell my music appreciation students is that it actually comes from a British drinking song. That's why it's very disjunct. So if you sing it, and I would sing it, but I have this cough that I'm trying to calm down, but if you sing it, it's basically very arpeggiated, right? So there's these large intervals between each of the notes, and that's what makes it hard to sing. That coupled with whoever sings it in a ballpark, right, or a football stadium, wherever, there's the echo.
Right.
And it's major echo. So like if you're singing, and sadly if it's empty, then there's too much echo, right? But it's really annoying because then you're trying to focus on what's coming out of your mouth, but you're getting the feedback like a second later from what you just sang.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is one of the most difficult. So it's funny that they gave you literally the hardest song to sing as your first song, right?
It's terrifying.
You know, something Yankee Doodle Dandy would have been nice, or Mary Had a Little Lamb. But no, we're gonna go for the gold. That's awesome. So you sang, they worked with you on possibly learning words,
right?
Memorization. and then when did you really start to blossom as a singer?
When I realized what music can do. So my mother, she comes from Silao, Guanajuato, in Mexico. And my dad from Florida.
Okay.
She cannot speak English very well.
Okay.
But they would listen to music together. And that's kind of like how they were able to communicate, and like it just, the entire vibe of the house would just transform with that. And so when I saw that like music can really bring people together, it transcends language, I was like, I can be a vessel to this. So that's when I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this.
Right. That's awesome. And it's so beautiful that you use the word vessel. It's when I talk, and I try not to make the show about me, but I'm just making connections because I watched one of my recent episodes and I was like, Yasmin, shut up already. Right, let the guest talk. Let me let you explain what you mean by a vessel through which the music flows.
when I sing something, I'll give you an example. I was having a really hard day at school, and I was telling my choir teacher about all this stuff, stops me in the middle of my sentence and says, I need you to sing. And I was like, awkward timing, but okay, I'll do it. So I sang, and the song I sang was I'm Here from The Color Purple.
Okay.
And when I sang it, not only was I using what I was feeling, right, to project what the song meant to me, but what I was saying affected someone else. The entire room was crying because with what I was doing, they felt that. And I love that whatever it is that I do when it comes to music or performing, I want to be able to build that connection with someone, or someone hear me and say, I needed this today. I needed to hear that.
That's awesome. And so you found that, when did you know you were going to become a singer?
I always knew.
They
ask you when you're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always said teacher or pop star.
I love it.
And then I grew up and I became more realistic. And I said, I'll just be the pop star.
I love it. You're like, the teaching's not for me, right? Yeah, that's so funny. And you're absolutely right. And so you're a rarity. Let me tell you that right now. Because so many students arrive at EPCC still a bit lost on what they want to do with their lives. And so they pick the multidisciplinary major, right? And multidisciplinary studies, for your information, for those of you at home, is usually the degree plan that is a general studies. You're getting your core, you're getting your basics in, along with a few electives. And then sometimes they'll finish the degree, still kind of dabble in a few things before they finally figure out, oh, you know what, engineering, whatever it may be. But for someone to feel that calling at such a young age, and I don't think I was as young as you when it kind of finally slapped me, because it does. It's literally kind of the way you're describing it, that it's just kind of like it happens in a moment and you're like, this is it, oh my gosh. And so that's awesome. I think to me, the most successful people are the ones that found that calling early on, right? And you have to be aware. So the secret is, you need to know at home, you have to be in tune with everything your body's telling you, everything your mind is telling you. What are you drawn to? And ignore the haters, right? Because they're going to tell you, like, no, you shouldn't do that career. It doesn't pay. That's a famous one we hear in music all the time. It doesn't pay. I make the joke, like, oh yeah, we're going to be, begging for money off to the side. But if you love something with your whole heart, you make a lot of money, because people will see your love for the art form. They will see it through your singing. And I saw it. You sang for us in April of 22 for the grand opening of the AST. And when you sang, I was like, oh, this one, right? Like that's like, you're so just, everyone is drawn in to your singing. So now let me ask you a question. Where are you going? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Wow, that's a good question. In 10 years, I had a whole plan set out for me. I want to, in 10 years, I would like to be on stage performing in a Broadway production. Beautiful. Preferably be a part of an original Broadway cast. I am so happy to even just play a tree, as long as I'm not one of those flying monkeys on Wicked. Right. I am good. But that's where I want to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, and I don't doubt that things are going to start to land in your lap, because the thing is, for you, most of the time I give the speech to students, and I've given that speech before to people here. Like, you need to start creating opportunities for yourself. You need to start emailing people. You need to start But with you, Kodaya, I think you just need to sit back and relax because stuff is going to start to just land. Just because it's what you have is just this amazing gift that I'm just like, anybody that hears you is going to be like, sign her. Go ahead, right? Where's Clyde Davis? I need somebody, please call Clyde Davis for me. Thank you, right? So, incredible. And this is your first interview. I would like to lay claim to the fact that this is the first official interview with the pop star Kodaya Butler, right? Because you know what's going to happen. If and when, not if, when you become famous, this interview is going to show up in a laundry list in the search, right? And they're going to be like, what's this from 2023? Who's this lady? Right? And they're going to be lady's like, nobody. But that's Kodaya Butler as well. It's just, you know. And so I feel so honored to have you and your incredible talent and your love and your passion for the art form. And you're singing for us in a couple of weeks, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
This show will probably air, and we do repeats. We do repeats because you all want to see these episodes again, don't you? Yes. The answer is I like to tell myself yes. And so I will say, though, for the Black History Month of 2023, you're going to be performing for us.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about that. I think it's going to be tremendous. You, DeAndre Wright, who is one of our former students, he's now at UTEP, and the two of you together are going to be amazing. No pressure. Enjoy it, though. That's the thing, right? Yeah, just enjoy that moment, and also the rehearsals, and just incredible, absolutely incredible. Now, so you're going to become a pop star. You're going to become a Broadway star.
Mm-hmm. Broadway before pop now.
Okay, Broadway before pop. And my advice to you is be watchful of your voice, because the pop will ruin your voice. And you know this. I'm glad you already know this. So how are you? What is your path? Do you already have a plan? I have a feeling you do.
What do you mean by what is my path?
Okay. You're going to do Broadway. Mm-hmm. How many albums are you going to cut?
Honestly, truly, here's my goal.
Uh-huh.
I want to be on Broadway, maybe win a Tony if it's in the cards.
Okay.
But the thing is I don't want to be ridiculously famous. I want to be famous to like a niche group of people, to maintain a certain level of privacy. So yes. So if I do, any album that I put out, right, is going to be an original Broadway cast recording.
Yes.
So I will be on that, and maybe a few like side projects, like 2 or 3. I'm currently working on one that has been in the work for like 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm currently working on a project myself to kind of just dip my toe in the water.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very good. Well, whenever you release that project, we would like to know. We might have to have you back on the show before you become too famous for the show, and I have to talk to your manager, right, to get you booked. So I think you need to record some albums. And I'll point you out to some people that have been very famous over the years, but they keep the National Enquirer out of their life. Paul Newman. Maybe Paul Newman as he got older, because I think as he was younger, there probably was a lot of talk, right? But as he got old, yeah, like the National Enquirer. But there's some people, it's like their whole life is in the National Enquirer, right? And so, but there is a smart way to be Hollywood famous and keep the paparazzi at bay, right? There is a smart way to do it. And I'm just encouraging you, because I mean, like I said, I would love to see you have recorded 20 albums. You know what I mean? Between now and, what year is this? 2023. By 2050, 2055, to have cut 20 albums. And you go to the record store, you go to the whatever CD store. I don't know what's going to be in 30 years, and flip through, all the albums, and then you release the best of, right?
Right.
I think that's spectacular. Now, how do you think, if you had to give advice to anyone, not just folks within the arts, but to anyone that is trying to find their calling?
The only person in your way is yourself.
Yeah.
You need to allow yourself to do whatever it is that you want to do. Doesn't matter if you're bad at it, if you're great at it, if you don't know what it is, just do it, because you have the rest of your life to change your mind, change it again and again and again and again. Just do it to find out what works for you. And once that thing clicks, you got it.
Right. Absolutely. And I love that. And I'm glad that you addressed that, because it's true. A person kind of changes paths a little bit throughout life. I joke with the class a lot about my dream of becoming a famous clarinetist and traveling Europe, right? But but where I am now, I'm very happy, because I mold 24 students this semester in that class, and help you guys and guide you all to jobs and other things, right? So, and that's beautiful advice. As far as I don't want to say your entourage. I do want to say your entourage, because it is like your entourage. You're like the center of attention in the group. But amongst your peers, what advice do you have for them? We have our daily struggles. Every person in the college that I work with, the car breaks down, the babysitter called sick, the whatever it is, the job, they got laid off, whatever it may be. What helps you persevere?
What helps me persevere is I think to myself, at the end of the day, when I go home, I'm gonna be in my bed by myself. So I gotta make sure that I'm doing what I can to make myself happy, and then the rest will fall into place. Because if you're not doing what you have to do for yourself, then how do you expect to figure everything else out? You gotta take care of yourself, mentally, physically, and then you go from there.
That's beautiful. I like that. It reminds me, the people joke about it, but it makes sense. On the airplane, when they drop the masks, put the mask on yourself first, right? Because you put it on the baby first, and then if you die, the baby can't help himself, right? So that's really beautiful, and I can't wait to see. So we've got several concerts featuring. We have the February, 23rd. That's featuring you. And then we have our March 8th concert. That's choir is going to be involved there. You should be performing on departmentals twice. What are you singing this semester? You mentioned, was it Madam Butterfly?
No. So what me and Gorilla like to do, my voice lessons teacher, we create a balance, right? So I told her, I was like, we both know I'm going into the musical theater road. So yes, I would like to do some more musical theater pieces. However, any artist should be able to have that duality where you still have classic art pieces in your repertoire. Even if you don't use them, it's good to have them. So this semester, so far, right, we're working on O Mio Babino Caro.
Yes.
That's the one we're doing.
Yes. Love it. And then let me ask you, let's talk more technique. How is it different to sing the classical from the pop or from the Broadway?
That is a good question.
I'm putting you on the spot.
It's because it really, really is different.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason that I would say is different is because it requires a certain level of discipline for your art pieces as it is the musical theater contemporary stuff. Because with classical art pieces, you have, for example, very specific dynamic markings that are integral to the piece.
Right.
As to where with the more Broadway pop stuff, you have more liberty to do what you have to do.
Sure.
And everything is calculated with the art pieces. So it requires a certain level of discipline, which is why it's so good to have both in your repertoire, because that discipline then translate over to what you want to do, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Light bulb.
Right, exactly. And that's a great example. And so let me ask you about your experience here at EPCC. Is this is your second semester?
Oh, no, it's my third.
Third semester.
Yes.
Okay, third semester at EPCC. That's right, because it was about a year ago when I heard you. And so what has been your experience so far in the music program? Did you feel overwhelmed at first? Did you feel like you fit in right away? Especially like with your peers and everything, like in choir. You're at a loss for words. Yes.
And not to quote Into the Woods, right?
Oh, okay.
But I was excited and scared because it's been great. It's been so great. I've had teachers like you for music appreciation
yes.
and music theory.
I remember your music appreciation. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And then just everyone is just so willing to help, but that's also very like the workload at first was very overwhelming because I had taken a break from music for a year. So I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. But it was exciting because it feels like, and especially this semester, now that I'm taking on my piano classes and all that, it feels so good to feel like I'm finally doing something towards my career and to advance that. So it's very exciting, scary because all this new information is coming, but exciting because of the possibilities that come with it.
Right. That's fantastic. Absolutely. And so, and you do fit in very well. I know you have your friends and you have your people you pick on and you tease and everything. And so I'm so happy to have you on board. And so I'm going to briefly talk a little bit about the music program and what we have. We have, as you mentioned, the ensembles. Choir is one of them. We have the lessons. We have the full-hour lessons and also the half-hour lessons. For those of you that are interested, we offer all the instruments: voice, guitar, piano, woodwinds. I teach clarinet. We have Joyce Zalkin on flute, percussion. All of those you can also take on the half hour as an elective, a 1 credit hour elective. You can also take we have our music appreciation courses, which are all the core courses, as well as American music. And those you can take as also, it's elective, but it's within your core. So all of your AA degrees require that. And then let's see here, then of course the music theory and the sight singing courses. And I consider that the meat and potatoes, and not because I teach it, right? Because there are others that also teach the theory and sight singing, but they really are the meat and potatoes because it's all the logistics of music. It's the building blocks, right? And so you're learning a lot in the class. And we're getting into intervals now, and we're starting to talk about that and flesh all of that out. And so what music theory is, it's basically music analysis. For those of you that may be interested in such a thing, we actually have a non-music major in the course. And I was surprised to see him. He took music appreciation with me, and I recognized him right away. And so sight singing, which is a co-rec, that is specifically for learning how to sing the intervals, how to sing the scales, and at sight. So if I just show you a piece of sheet music, you go, okay, let me sing through this, right? And then you're able to either play it on your instrument or you're able to sing it. Then lastly, we offer music literature. And music literature is essentially like score study, right? and it's analyzing these scores and how could this be a piece by Tchaikovsky? How can I tell this piece was written by Beethoven, right? So if I were to show you 2 scores and go, who wrote this? You'd have to know.
Right.
Right. Your little eyes are like, right. So you're not there yet.
No.
But
baby steps.
Right, baby steps, exactly. But that is one of the last courses that you take before you end your time here at EPCC. And again, EPCC offers the first 2 years, the equivalent to the first 2 years of the bachelor's degree. And so you're kind of in the earlier stages of the associates. And so as we're wrapping up, I want to kind of ask you, what do you think will be the most memorable thing for you looking back 20 years from now? If somebody asks you, you went to EPCC, right? What do you think is going to be the first thought in your head? Your first, that you remember, like, oh, yes.
Honestly, how hard the teachers fight to have you in your class. Like how when I told you, I'm like, I don't know what to do with music, you were quick to help me out and say, do this, and that. And it's so nice to have that with our teachers. So that's definitely something that'll always stay with me.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, because it's true. So Kodaya's right. Put my email there at the bottom. I'm telling the producer of the show. yflore14@epcc.edu. You can reach out to me. You can also reach out to Dr. Melissa Garola or Dr. Alina Vasquez, and we'll be more than happy to help you register for music classes. So what happens is a lot of times our counselors, they are trained in all the degrees. Mm-hmm. But what's weird about music is that unlike a lot of the degrees, we don't cover all the core. We don't finish the core. And so we start with music classes right off the bat. So if you're a music major, okay, you need to be taking music classes now, okay, BTW. You need to be enrolled in Music Theory 1 and Sight Singing 1, and hopefully at least for fall, okay, get started right away, because otherwise you're kind of delayed, right? And so glad to have you on the show, Kodaya.
Thank you.
Yes. And you're going to be like Khalid. You're going to be, man, I'm going to be calling, your manager, the agency. I swear to you, I know her.
Right? I'll call you. I got you on speed dial. Don't worry.
Exactly. Good. Thank you. Well, Kodaya, thank you so much for doing the show. And thank you to all of you once again for joining us today. Take care. Bye-bye.